Hey there, it's Bridget Lynn Dolgoff from the Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Anyway, just a huge shout out to Taos, New Mexico. Anyway, I got a fabulous email and can't wait to have a conversation with the person who I'm going to be talking to. Yeah. About animal communication and healing and stuff like that. So pretty darn exciting. So sometimes I don't really know. I apologize that I don't allow comments on my website. I've just, had been thrown under the bus so many times in my life. And I just at a point in my life where I just don't want to deal with the negative comments or crazy, what they call trolls who get on there and go on crazy tangents. And, it stresses people out and it wrecks whatever message, that is coming across. So, and you know what the thing is, I know that I'm not like other people. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. And so I've been told my whole life, people always, even in the spiritual community, always reading me my personal, inventory. And I try to explain to them that, not like them, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to fit into some kind of spiritual box. I mean, it's ridiculous. I use my spiritual practice to get out of the box, right? Get out of the controlled programming and thinking. So anyway, this video, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more videos because I am moving out of my offices. I was kind of focused there for the winter and, doing a lot of hands-on work, and now kind of branch out to hopefully do more traveling, some more farming work. But it just depends on funding. It just depends on if funds come in and I can go ahead and do those kinds of things. So yeah, so this is a good time of year for me. So if I don't have money or funding coming in, and I don't have workshops in different places, and it's good if people want to bring me to an area, or you can come see me, or whatever else it's going to be. But so, I'm pretty clear. I work on animals. I work on people. I do a lot of shamanism work, ceremonies, and, farming. So I do a lot of consulting and coaching and all that kind of stuff. Oh, and nutrition, dense nutrition. That's why I got back into farming and went to the Steiner College and went through their program and interned on farms when I was 40. So let's see here. Okay, so what I want to talk about, I kind of made some notes because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about, but just always kind of unsure in the direction. So kind of want to do it more as a feeling. Some of it's intense, some of it's not so intense. But today I want to talk more kind of about animals. So, like if I went to go look at an animal, say somebody called me out and I go on site and I take a look at what's going on. Say, for example, a farm animal. So the first thing that I start to do is I watch the animal. I watch how they stand. If there's any kind of discomfort, I watch how they react to their environment or their landscape. Is there something that's making them uncomfortable? Is it internal that's causing the discomfort? I do this with people too. Even when people come into my practice, and I'll ask them, so how have things been going? I'm watching all these different kinds of responses because there's so many different layers to healing, and that you have to bring them all to the current timeline in order to work and, release it or change the assemblage point or cure it or, whatever else it's going to be, whatever kind of host of words. And the thing is like I start to look at disease now, because you can have structural disease. Chronic pain is dis-ease, right? And it's marching you right down the path of death, early death. And so they're qualities, like I just don't really call it disease, or, I look at it more as qualities. Where did you pick up these qualities that are, destroying your life? Your eating habits, your eating behavior, your lifestyle habits, your lifestyle behaviors. And where did you pick these up? And where do you learn them? Sometimes, you have to take, whether it's the animal, even in shamanism, there is layers and layers and layers of atrocities, murder, hatred, and violence, and bloodshed. And sometimes you need multiple ceremonies in order to release those things. Same with the qualities of each timeline in the life of an animal or a person. So, I always look at work I do is digging deeper understanding and taking, it isn't like there's just one point in time, right? But going through the physical timeline before and getting person, to birth or before birth, to structurally, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, remove the old qualities and replace them with new qualities and considerations of life, while I'm coaching them, consulting with them on how to make simple changes in their lifestyle. Like, how to go to the grocery store, what choices are better, getting away from nightshade plants too. Like sometimes, a lot of households in America have peanut butter. Well, peanuts are poisonous. It's a nightshade plant. So you can have, all different kinds of levels of food allergies with peanuts and not even get it. Not even put it together. So sometimes, getting people to change to like macadamia nut butter. And plus macadamia nuts are 80% monosaturated fat. So for human bodies, that's like the pristine metabolic fat that really makes the body run. So, I mean, look at how beautiful, like Polynesian people in their own settings, eating, lots of this beautiful fruit and macadamia nuts, and how beautiful their skin is. I mean, hello, macadamia nuts are a beauty food for sure. Okay, so anyway, so that's kind of like stuff I do. So when I go out on the scene and say I'm looking at an animal, I look at their environment. I look at, what they're living in. I look at the people that they're living with. And then I kind of, can sense into their timeline before they came there. And also, I can pick up on injuries and other kinds of things, and abuse and poor diet and whatever else that the animal may have. But I watch the animal's eyes as it looks at me, it looks at its environment. I watch its behavior. I watch if, people and animals, if you can stand on your own 2 feet, your 4 feet. If you're constantly shifting too much, there's, a discomfort in there. Is it emotional, mental, physical? And so these are a lot of things that, I kind of have to put together. I look at their overall structure. Is there a lot of tension? Tension equals disease. And, I think about how to release the trauma, and sometimes the first time I go out working with animals or people, you can be quite sore. But it's because we're releasing tension that's holding together. And there's a lot of muscle memory in there, and the tension releases. So I look at, I look at a lot of different things. And so I talk to you about a couple things. So in 2010, I was on a farm, and we had a man sheep ram. but he didn't have the horns. You know, he was a short, stocky guy, and he was probably about 350 pounds. I mean, he was burly. And we didn't really, the sheeps were not our friends, you know, because they are animals, and we have to keep that line of, I'm the caretaker, and, you know, I help steward the animals, and usually have, like, we had one sheep, the head sheep, that we worked with, and she would literally follow us, and all the other sheep would follow. Well, while I was there on the farm early on, the man sheep's front shoulder, he was having problems with it, because he's so big, you know, he can't not walk on it. I mean, you know, the 350 pound stocky ass sheep, he's not happy if he has to, like, try to use 3 legs and hop around. So they decided to look at his hooves to see if, you know, one of his hooves had cracked and that it was getting an infection inside of it. And turned out his hooves and everything were fine. I mean, this is a big show, you know, because you've got to have a couple people that can run in. Once you get the sheep, you know, fenced, then you got to run in and grab it and then sit it up like a teddy bear on its rear end. Once you do that with sheep, they're like, doo, 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 hoo, hoo. You can do anything you want to them. But until you get them into that position, it's called you could die. So anyway, they couldn't figure out what it was. So I just said, hey, you know, I've been trained by the man who developed, you know, animal chiropractor in the United States. He, you know, did horses, thoroughbred horses. That's how he developed it all. And do you mind if, you know, I come in and see if the shoulder actually needs to be popped back in, you know, like it's structurally out. Because the man sheep, he likes to jump and hop, and he loves to play with his babies. And they're all over the place, jumping off things and jumping onto things. And so you just never know. So they said, yeah, you know, that would be great. And so I told them, okay, we're going to flop him on his side. Right when you're flopping him into his side, I'm going to run in, and then I'm going to pop his shoulder in. So they flopped him on his side. I went running in, and I grabbed his leg, bent it up, boom, popped it. It snapped so loud. Even the sheep was like, whoa. So we all went running out of the pen and shut the gate. Well, by the next morning, he was walking on it fine. And this actually saved my life. I had an incident with him on the farm where there was nobody else there. And I was watching the farm for about 6 or 7 days. And I was taking him out of their pen to this other pasture. And right when all of the girl sheeps went in and the baby sheeps went in, the gate slammed shut. And the ram, you know, now there was a gate between him and his loved ones, which is not a good thing. And he gave me a go pass because I didn't want to step in front of him and have to pull this gate back open and tie it up in front of him, because if he decided that he was pissed and he wanted to ram me, he would have killed me. And there was no other way for me to be able to solve this situation. So I just looked at him and walked carefully, and then, you know, got this gate back open so that he could get through. And then as soon as it was open, he went charging by because, you know, he wants to be with his herd. But I can remember looking at him, and he was really kind of pissed off about the situation. But he kind of like remembered that I didn't hurt him and that I had helped him and that he was going to give me a little timeline of trust. And so I was grateful for that. Something else that I come across a lot is pinning. And I see it a lot in horses and dogs. Dogs that have been, dogs that are not getting enough exercise. Some breeds, their back end kind of rolls down like shepherds and stuff. But I also think there are a lot of breeds that shouldn't happen to. And the deal is that they're not getting enough exercise. They are in-house too much, even on walks. Animals that have 4 legs and that usually are pretty muscular if humans are not involved have a special ability, and they can run through fields or whatever else as fast as possible. I mean, you've seen those cheetahs, in the wild where they just really get booking, and they're both front legs are here and back legs, and then they come together and then they spread out. The body in 4-legged animals that can run like that, especially like dogs and horses and things of that nature, their body adjusts itself, the spine and everything. So if an animal can't and does not have enough area that when it feels like, boom, I just need to run, it will not be able to manage its own structure. So when the structure starts to collapse, then it's going to have all kinds of issues and diseases, because the brain no longer can regenerate that area of the body because there is a spinal component that is pinching that nerve because the spine is not straight and not open and not moving back and forth with proper pressure. And there are lots of hydraulic pumps in our body. And so if the main electrical current is not working well, then that pump is not going to work super good, right? Like, for example, the gallbladder is a pump. It secretes bile. The liver is a pump. It helps to clean the toxicities out of the blood. The colon is like a hydraulic pump, right? Moving through so everything is a pump in the body. So if you don't have the electrical current because it's been twisted, right? Ask any kind of electrician or mechanic what'll happen if you're not getting a proper electrical current to different parts of the engine. It's a no-brainer. It's called you don't drive anywhere in that car or whatever that machine is going to be. So the same thing with the human body, but it can take a little bit longer to slow you down and kill you. So your brain doesn't have a relationship. There's no electrical current going. And animals that have 4 legs, it always seems like their liver area is being targeted. It's the first place to go out in a structure. So, and it can also be food related. I noticed that. Yeah. So that's a whole other thing on the nutrient thing with what's going on. But okay, so I see a lot of dogs that have been rescued that are really curled up in their lower part of their back. It means they're not pooping well, they're not peeing well. Their signals to the back end, they're going to have serious hip dysplasia. Usually the hip joints are not sitting right anyway. So, they have, hip joint problems that are going on. And this can actually activate to more of their frailness, their uncertainty, their ability to interact with the world, because there is a level of pain. There's a level of them having been created that it has damaged their body. So they're not really in touch with anything that's going on in the back end, because it's going to be the back end that suffers if the animal is put into crates long-term that it can't get out of, say 8 hours a day in a house. It's just not good. Unless the crate is, huge compared to the animal. But there has to be periods where the animal can just get out there and run and book it, like long places. So when I've seen horses, for example, a couple of years ago, I was working on a horse that had a lot of problems, but it made a lot of noise, when it had to poop. So that told me that the animal had been pinned and was in a small pen. And this animal was in a pen with probably, and this animal had come to these people, so it had been short pinned for a long time, and it had the hips were rotated down. Anyway, so as I started working with it, and started kind of, you know, getting its hips adjusted and breaking its hips open, I mean, instantaneously, it would have a huge fart, and then it would take a huge crap because it had been pinned in a way where its hips had been rotated. And the thing about horses is they get to age 10, and their sacrum bone on the top is locked, it's fused. So you can help quite a bit, but you can't, hold on a second, but you can't fix that. So anyway, sounds like someone's here, so I've got to run. But you can cause a lot of damage by pinning your animals in too small of areas, and cause a lot of internal and external damage. So anyway, that's Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Have a great day. Bye-bye.